Plane slamming into the second tower.
A terror attack of proportions that we cannot begin to imagine.
American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations.
Terrier and Craig were drawn more and more to the peace of the backcountry.
I think Craig was one of Terrier's favorite guys to go snowboarding with.
I think Terrier is pretty much the best snowboarder in the world. He may not focus on what I think is the best parts of snowboarding, but I know he could do anything better than anybody out there.
Craig is definitely like at peace with himself, and he was where he was supposed to be.
Riding backcountry with Craig was like pleasure, just to hang out with Craig, kind of like an older brother.
Obviously Terrier really looked up to Craig, but I think there was a mutual respect back and forth.
If somebody enters into snowboarding or any other fun activity for the competition, they're probably missing the real essence of snowboarding or whatever it is they're getting into. Competition is such a small part of the feeling of snowboarding. I feel sorry for anybody that thinks of that as the main source of fun from snowboarding.
Craig Kelly wanted to understand the mountain better, and so trained as a backcountry guide and avalanche expert.
The biggest rush in my snowboard career was just my first time to Alaska. Just dropping into giant mountains. That was so steep. When we came halfway down the mountain, you were just this little ant in the middle of this big face. And if you hit a little bump to do an air, you would just drift so far down because it was really steep.
I think through the modern conveniences of helicopters and guides and avalanche peaks, you have this false sense of security, but Mother Nature rules and she doesn't discriminate. An avalanche in snow is like a slow-moving wave of concrete. And then you have no control in that moment.
You're a very small person in a very big world. And when you're out there, you realize how small you are.
Authorities in Western Canada are trying to figure out what set off that massive avalanche on Monday that killed 7 people, including a snowboarding legend.
Nobody is supposed to die that young.
Down from the mountain, 9 Americans and 1 Canadian who survived the avalanche that left 7 of their companions dead.
It was like swimming down the roughest river I've ever been in, trying to keep my head above the water.
He was such a good human being and so real and so down to earth.
One of the avalanche victims was Craig Kelly, a snowboarding pioneer and one of the sport's biggest stars. Jake Burton is Kelly's longtime sponsor and, more importantly, his good friend. Good morning, Mr. Burton. I just want to say we're so sorry for the loss of your friend.
Yeah, it's a tough loss for our sport.
Yeah, and I know for you personally, everyone talks about what a big superstar Craig Kelly was in the sport, a multiple U.S. and world champ, but he's so much more than that. He was just a wonderful guy by all accounts, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was terrific, and what he did for our sport was just incredible. I mean, his riding did just revolutionized freestyle riding in and of itself, but also he showed that you didn't have to compete to make a living in the sport and to show people what snowboarding was all about. He was doing it simply because he loved it, and I do feel better, in that regard. He was also with other people, and I'm sure it saddened him to see other people go with him. I'm sure that was very rough.
Not just a legend, a good friend, a visionary, just all around a really, really good guy.
Craig embodied the soul of snowboarding. When something like that happens, it just hits home so hard that I fell apart.
Vietnam time,
and pretty serious. Pregnant. She came in the living room and said, Sherm, you got to get these kids. It's really a wave, and you could surf it all day long.
Bring what to do.
Where they make bowling.
Circumstances were right, and he had that flash of brilliance.
Yes. It was all just a barrel of fun. We'd go to the local state park.
Surfing happens to be my favorite sport. I do.
But it was fun. That's why I pursued it with my life.
Time ago, and I rode those for about the last 10 years, and nobody really improved.
Some of his own, which were wider and bigger, that he'd made. He'd cut up an inner tube.
And he got 4 points. 4 points.
Energy level was fierce.
The atmosphere right in the beginning welcome us and say, hey, let's see what you got.
When the first person...
The real attraction to snowboarding is what's known as
the heat need of half-pipe snowboarding. There was really only...
Some days it seems like you're just working, and sometimes you just have
a decision that would start the downfall of Sim snowboards.
Jake listened to, and he wanted a company that was committed to snowboarding, and he knew that was the deal with us.
It turned into a great relationship between Craig and...
Valley allowed snowboarding, and I remember heading to the hills up there, and people...
Win it today.
I felt really good. Pretty consistent the whole weekend.
Fight and watch your language. I'm not going to tell you again.
Avec son surf va plus vite que nous. Il faut à tout prix le capturer.
I had more pressure on myself than ever. It's like, it's your last... Palmer had good runs, but I thought I had cars. For some reason, the announcers keep you in suspense right to the last minute.
Anything that could be jumped off of, they went off. They got all over Donner.
Like, that's not snowboarding. It is to them. That's how they access it. I think that there's snowboarding, which is a lot about turning and carving. And then there's snow skating.
Whatever, I don't know. We started listening to hip-hop.
The top women from around the world. Women's half-pipe competition has come a long way in just
not being there.
I can totally understand why he's not going.
The euphoria didn't last long.
In snowboarding, I feel sorry for anybody that thinks of...
It is like a slow-moving wave of concrete.
Influencing everyone. As far as the cork moves, you've got...
I really enjoy snowboarding, and I kind of feel bad for him because it's
hard to get through all the pressure of the Olympics. I mean, I didn't really see it coming, but...
That was who Kev wanted to beat, for sure.
Kevin Pierce. He was the only person.
Why do I snowboard family that all 4 KP kind of thing was just...
Years, just doctors, therapies, eye appointments, seizures.
It's easy to get distracted from...
Absolutely the best.
I'm never going to have those tricks.